This series is about how to leave an abusive relationship. If you are in a situation like that, I hope this series helps you eventually leave safely and permanently. There's going to be 6 episodes in this series. In this episode, number 1, we'll focus on major common factors that prevent people from leaving or make it very difficult to do so. Very important to start with those first so that people don't just leave and go back, or never feel comfortable leaving at all. Episode number 2 will focus on emotional clarity and how to really know that it's the right decision to leave rather than just sometimes thinking that that might be a good idea. Episode number 3 will focus on making your actual physical plan to leave. Episode number 4 will focus on bringing that all together and actually jumping off the diving board and leaving the relationship, and some tips for making that successful so that you don't go back. After those 4 core episodes, we'll have 2 FAQ or bonus episodes answering FAQs, common questions, and things that people submit in the comments. As you go through this series, keep in mind 2 things. Number 1, leaving an abusive relationship is usually difficult and takes a lot of time and preparation. It's important to keep that in mind because otherwise you might feel very guilty or mad at yourself for not leaving right away. So for example, if you finish watching this series and you haven't left the next day, that's totally normal. If you still have a lot to think about, that's totally normal. Second thing to keep in mind is that you don't need to figure everything out right away. This can be a journey where you start to get more clarity and you start to think about maybe how you would leave if you were going to leave. And eventually, one day, that turns into a life-changing decision. So without further ado, this first episode will focus on major common factors that make it very difficult for people to leave an abusive relationship. For a lot of people, where this starts is that it's very difficult to give up on somebody that you love. Imagine the 1 or 2 people that you love most in the world, whether that's a child or a parent or your spouse or whoever it is. Now imagine giving up on that person and cutting them out of your life entirely. That can be a very difficult thing to do. And in an abusive relationship, often it can seem like there's a chance to fix that person or fix the situation or make it better. And fixing it or changing it can often seem like it's a better option than cutting out that person that you love from your life entirely. And that just makes it really hard because people will go to the ends of the earth for people that they care about, right? If they feel like there's something they can do. And so abusive relationships can trap people for a very long time if they think that they can change something about the situation, because it kind of takes advantage of that powerful love and that loyalty that is in that person in your heart. Here's some layers of this to unpack that. Number 1, abusive people will often blame people or things in their life, and they'll say if those factors change, they will be less abusive. They'll say it's their stress level. They'll say it's their hormones. They'll say it's their job. They'll say it's the way that the victim talks to them or the way that the victim is acting. And they'll point to all these things and say, I could just be less abusive and get it under control if we could change this about our life, or if you could change this about how you act. And again, for someone who doesn't want to totally give up on a loved one and cut them out of their life, if you're hearing that there are certain things that you can do or help with that can potentially change that situation or help that person change, you might very well stay for a long time trying to work through that together with the other person, which leads to staying in the relationship. The sad truth is that in the vast majority of these cases, number 1, the things that the abusive person is pointing to, if they are fixed, will not actually fix the abusive behavior. We're going to talk about that more in episode number 2 about emotional clarity. Right now, we're just kind of talking about why people stay. But most of the time, fixing those factors will not fix the abusive behavior. You can fix their stress level, still going to be abusive. You can fix their hormone levels, still going to be abusive. You can change the way that you act, they're still going to be abusive. And it slowly kind of becomes clear over time. One of the other big layers of this, though, that makes it easy for people to stay is that usually the abusive person wasn't as abusive at the start of the relationship or in the earlier phases. And this can lead to this powerful feeling that it might be possible for them to go back to being less abusive or to being more of their normal self. And again, that's an optical illusion. Often the abusive person was actually kind of hiding that from you at the start of the relationship. And we're going to talk about that more in the next episode, again, when we talk about emotional clarity and really resolving a lot of these situations. Right now, again, just focused on why do people really stay and why is that so hard to leave. So it just comes back to, with this part, it's very difficult to know when to give up on someone because you can feel like you might be getting somewhere. They might also be promising to change, right? Very convincingly, and making some changes. And so it's like, okay, when do I give up? How long do I stay? Can I help them? Can I fix this? So far, this has only been half of the equation of why it's very difficult to leave that situation. The other half is about real physical control. Abusive people will go to great lengths to prevent the person on the receiving end from leaving. This involves subtle things like making it so that they're isolated from friends and family so they don't have support. It also involves very direct things like taking out all of the money out of the bank account and putting it in a separate account, or making sure that the person never has access to a car, or telling them that if they leave, they will hurt them, or they will do something to their house or their family or their loved one or their pet. These are all physical things that the abusive person will do to try to maintain control of the person and prevent them from leaving. And I'm so sorry if you're in that situation where you're experiencing one or both of these factors. The important thing is that if you are trying to leave an abusive relationship, that you need to deal with both. The emotional stuff about whether it's the right decision to leave and give up on the abusive person and stop trying to help them change or, make them change or whatever it is, but also to safely leave given the physical controlling aspects of what's going on. Episodes 2 and 3 of this series will address both of those topics. In the next episode, we'll focus on the emotional clarity portion of that journey. And in episode 3, we'll talk about the actual physical plan for how to leave that situation. As you go through the rest of the series, please remember to be patient with yourself, and you don't have to figure this all out right away. This is not an easy thing to do, and you will make it there. Please just be patient with yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next episode.